Hello guys, Patrick here, Eggnoc Poker. New video today. It's been a long time, hasn't it? We are not dead, just to confirm I am still alive. I'm going to be jumping straight into a review today. I have been promising this review for a long time for Paul, who's a member of my Discord. He's very happily uploaded a session for backseating. He actually uploaded 2 videos. This is the second part, which is I think a bit more interesting, deeper. There's a lot more spots in this one and more to talk about, so I'm going to upload this one. Going to be doing a longer video. I'm not going to do it into multiple sections. I'm just going to go straight in and get one big video in. The video was sent to me. It was uploaded. It looks like it's on a phone, unfortunately, so I haven't been able to sort of stretch it across the screen, so this is as big as I can get it with people being able to see it. Just very quickly, I want a quick shout out to, I don't know if I'm saying this right, so I really apologise if I'm saying this wrong. I think it's Durantapar, something like that, Durantapar, a guy in the Microsoft Stars pool who's been asking for a new video, who I have promised one, so that quick shout out to him, /her, and let's get straight in. So, Paul, this is 10nl Russian cash, I believe. Yes, it is 10nl, it says on the top. I have no idea what the action is with this hand. As part 2 of the video, on this part of the video, it just goes straight in. So we're gonna see how the action goes and talk about it. So just a quick thing before we start. As always, hello to everybody. It's been a long time, so I apologise for this. I've got a couple of reviews, and then we're going to be jumping straight back into the videos. So we have still got 25nl to do. We've got 100, and we've got 200 left to do on the 2nl to 200 series. So they are still coming. I know it's been a long time. I'm so sorry, and I do apologize. I've been very busy and also slightly lazy. I do apologize for that. So we will be getting back onto those. Do not worry. Also, as always, please like, please subscribe, please chuck your comments in the description. In the comment section below. Backseat, my backseating, it's always fun. So 10nl, just very quickly overall for GG. So this is a super high rake environment, ridiculously high, like 8 big blind per 100, something stupid. We're slightly more incentivized to do a bit more calling, especially like small blind button cutoff, just a quick thing. We still want to be aggressive, but we're going to be doing more flatting overall, I would think, and being pretty polar in a lot of situations where we're sticking a lot of money. We're probably going to have a lot of good hands. We're probably going to be looking for some big bluffs. That's kind of what we're looking for in these stakes. It's very difficult to actually break out of these with the rake. It is pretty tough, but it is possible. So hopefully Paul has a good session. We'll be back seating him as much as we can and looking to talk about these hands as they come through. So let's just jump straight in, I suppose. So as I can see, apparently we have top pair. I have no idea of the pre-flop action. We've just jumped straight in. So we've got it in good, which is always nice. The guy's drawing semi-dead. I would think we just want to run this once. Head of it doesn't make too much difference, I guess. But like, reduce the variance. But then again, who cares? NL10, push for it. So we start with a double. We'll take it. Happy days. Ace-10, we should be looking to open this one up. I'm just going to mute this. I don't want the sound for this. We don't need that. So ace-10, we should definitely be opening 6 max. Absolutely can be opening that. So that's something to be noting for. Let's open the UTG range up a bit. Ace-10 absolutely should be in there. I'd just be looking to fast fold now with a 5-7 off. Ace-10 again. Happy days. Looking to do maybe some free betting against the cutoff. Against the hijack, we should just be folding this. Yep, nice fold. Ace-10 again, see if we open it this time. No. Okay, so ace-10 definitely needs to be an open. It's one of your worst opens in terms of ace-x offsuits. Like, you're not opening ace-9 UTG, but ace-10 off we should definitely be opening. Getting that open in. A9 off we can be defending. I don't know about with the rake structure how often we should be defending, but like we can absolutely be defending against a 3x at least half the time, I would say. And then pitching against this very large size. 8 deuce off, let's get rid of that one. I'd just be fast folding. Get yourself a hotkey for fast fold. Yeah, so just very quickly, I'm just going to pause this. So we're not opening ace deuce off under the gun, but we're opening 8 deuce off in the small blind. I guess this guy's got a 14 VPIP, but like 8 deuce off is just way too weak. I think when we get called, we're just going to be in very, very difficult situations unnecessarily. Remember, you're still being raked pre-flop as well, so it's very difficult. I would just be pitching that. I'd rather have like 8-5 suited, for example. 4-5 suited, yeah, we definitely been in this rake. We're going to be doing a lot of folding with these low connectors. You can open them up for fun, but they're not making a lot of money anyway. but we're definitely not looking to open them very often at all. In this pool, you can get away with it a bit tighter there with the little connectors. Again, nice, easy, quick fold, perfect. We just want to be fast folding and making the most out of time efficiency. So, for example, here, like just a couple of seconds every hand, just we don't need to wait. We can just fold through. I wouldn't be like waiting to see if you can just open any two in the small blinds. You can open you can open up your small blind opening range, but with a pre-flop rake and the fact that it's like these 8-3 offs, 9-4s and stuff, they're just garbage. They're not great. Same with like the 9-5 here. Nice easy fold with the 9 deuce. Ace king suited, happy days. Let's get some money in. Nice easy 3-bet. We're 100 effective, so 9, 9.5, 10, whatever you want. Unfortunately, we get the fold, but we'll take it. King 8, easy pitch. Not looking to open this at all. Ace 9 is about borderline for like a hijack open, so you could technically open this some of the time. Again, with the super high rake and the rake pre, if you want to fold it, you can, but I would say this is still very, very close to an open, in my opinion. Jack 3 suited, I'd be pitching on the button. Again, we're looking for sort of like Jack 4, Jack 5. A bit nitpicky, but just be careful. 10-8 off and the cutoff, I would absolutely be folding. Also, 10-9 off, you could open some of the time, I guess, if you wanted to be a bit aggressive. But again, with the rake pre, it's a bit... We need to be a little bit more conservative. So A4 suited, like if you're going to be a bit more over-aggressive, I would pick this, for example. So I don't mind being a bit overly aggressive with this. At least we got a suited hand, which makes a big difference. But again, generally, this would probably still be a fold, but, you know, if we can get away with it. So King 6-5, rainbow, blind on blind, super aggressive. We don't need to pause and talk about it. I'd just be doing, in this pool, I'd be doing a lot of small betting and a lot of just turn barreling. The villain's going to have a lot of 6x, 5x, 7x, lots of heart floats, Jack 10 of hearts, whatever. Very, very easy line to triple head and just put a lot of pressure on those like weak and medium King X and worse and so on. We'll be pitching the Queen 6 off. I suppose you could find a very, very low frequency 3-bet, but again, considering the rake, it's a little bit like, considering you're getting raked pre also, excuse me, a little bit disincentivized to be super aggressive with the weaker ones. Again, like this 7 deuce off, it's just too aggressive, I think. Way too aggressive. If you're going to be this aggressive, just very quickly, we need to be back. We need to be attacking these boards. We can't check here, and we're not calling a bet. If you're going to open this, just attack like 8-9 hearts and just attack like, you know, pocket threes and stuff. Just go after like a lot of these spots. As played now, we absolutely need to be blasting. Yeah, I would also size up a bit. I don't get me wrong, half pot is fine in this line, but I would just size up a little bit. You're going to get less credibility after not betting the flop. So if this guy's got any kind of like a 10, a jack, any kind of like king deuce, king 3, we want to be putting a bit more pressure on the turn into the river. But like half pot is theoretically sound, I would guess. But I would just punch it a bit harder. If I had a queen here, I'd probably be a little bit more aggressive also. Yeah, I like the river bet. Again, this half pot, you're kind of pricing it. You're making it very easy for villain to kind of just call with like any... Because remember, any king X is now, from the turn, is like kings and queens with an ace, sorry. So he doesn't even have weak king X. So you're kind of targeting like a pocket threes, pocket fours type hand. And you're giving it a very good price. I'd probably size up this to more like sort of 65-70% and just make sure you also don't induce any kind of like potential attacks, because this looks a little bit weak in this line, but you never know. I wouldn't, you're not going to make a king fold, obviously. We're not trying to make an ace fold, but like these weaker pocket pair type hands and potential like bluffs, let's try and disincentivize them a little bit. Ace deuce suited. I get it depends. Like again, it's like a borderline. Probably wouldn't be opening it at all in this kind of rake, but you know, if you feel like we can make it work, then let's do it. So like on this texture, like there's nothing wrong with check. Like I'm just thinking like theoretically, there's nothing wrong with checking this against the button because the button's gonna be very condensed. But like again, exploitatively, I kind of prefer just going ahead and c-betting just to fold out tons of hands and they're not floating or raising enough. So you could be aggressive, but checking is also fine. You could check raise this, you could check call against this. I'm just gonna say one thing against this extremely large size. From someone who's got a VPIP of 11, they're probably less likely to go, haha, you look really weak, I'm gonna blast this and take it down. It is probably more likely to be like a king or like a decent flush draw or like pair of jacks, pair of tens, something like that. I just wouldn't expect this guy to have too many sort of pure bluffs for that size. But we're never going anywhere. But I'm just saying, I just kind of prefer betting rather than sort of check calling. But you know, whatever. So we pick up the gut shot as well. We're not going anywhere. We're just trying to dodge this guy from potting a hand like king, queen, king, jack, which would put us in an annoying, awkward spot. But see what we do. Mr. Ethan Hunt checks back. So in this line, I guess in this population, checking's probably better because you kind of don't rep a lot of super good hands to an unstudied opponent. This villain's probably just going to check back like 8-9 of spades and stuff. You probably win. Theoretically, I'd probably go really small here and just you could probably go like 20-30% and fold out like pocket fours. So you could have like queens here, for example. You could have like king 10 and stuff, and then you could have a couple of bluffs. Ace deuce suited will win on showdown, but it's not supposed like your villain's supposed to be betting a lot of worse hands and just checking back better. So you're not supposed to win a lot by checking. But in this population, you probably could get away with it. So for example, like this, right? So if villain's going to check back queen 10 of clubs, ace deuce of spades makes a nice check. But if you check here and a correct opponent goes, haha, you know, I'm not going to win on showdown with queen 10 of clubs. You look pretty weak here. I can fold out a bunch of hands. He can just bet and we can't really call, for example. So something to think about in the future. But a small bet there probably would have been a little bit better than checking. But in practice, it worked. So happy days. Ace jack, easy open. I suppose there's a couple of slightly bigger effective stacks, so increasing your opening size from 2 to 2.5, I can get behind that. Not super studied multi-way. Unfortunately, I would just assume that if I was going to be attacking this, I'd probably be attacking it with slightly worse combos. And if I was going to attack it with ace X, I'd probably prefer to have a diamond, backdoor hearts, or just a worse hand in general, like a 9-10 suited type hand, for example. So I like the check fold multi-way. Jane is thinking about it. Opening under the gun. So pocket fours, I would almost always be folding with a smidge of call. Again, in this population, with the rake, it's probably better just to fold. So this size here, just want to very quickly say, so exploitatively, I can get behind his betting because they checked. However, if I was going to be betting, I'd be taking a strategic line, which is pretty much over bet or check. Okay, so basically, let's think about this. So villains checking, like, this is NL10, right? So we don't need to go, so does this and that. But like, just think about this for a second. So let's think about what the UTG range looks like. And at NL10, when they open under the gun and check, like, because they're so c-bet happy, they're very likely to be showdown orientated. So weak to medium ace X, pocket 8s, pocket 7s, pocket 6s, like, I don't know, like king 10, things like that. So medium pairs, like medium pocket pairs. I don't think they check like king, queen, king, jack at any frequency. I don't think they check raising. I think they're just doing a lot of betting with a lot of those like value hands and sort of bluffy equity hands. And then they're just checking with a lot of like these very strong to medium showdown hands. So if you're betting, you're inclined to actually overbet this. So something to think about for next time. Or check. You do a lot of checking also, because you're also just supposed to be against a lot of good hands also. But so yeah, well, I would be sizing this up, or I would be checking back or going like 8 here, because you really want to just bin a hand like 9s now. This size kind of really puts you into a bit of a mergy situation where it's like, you know, maybe he attacks you, but also he just gets to float a bit easier with like these kind of hands that are beating us, and then we're in a very difficult situation. So as played, the 10 would be extremely bad because we're not doing a lot of betting with 10x, and he's likely to be check calling a lot of 10x. So to be honest with you, this is a bit of a weird one now. Had you overbet the flop, like that's a different situation. But because we bet half pot here, I still think this guy's got tons of kings, queens, jacks, eights, sevens, like maybe king, queen of hearts, maybe, but probably less likely. So I'd probably just continue and then barrel a lot of rivers, depending on what the runouts are, because I just think he's just gonna have like eights and nines and stuff, things like that. So betting half pot checking just allows him to just win a lot, whether in any way. He's just gonna win on showdown. He's never very unlikely to have a worse hand than this. So like even though you river a full house, you're just gonna lose here a lot. So villain makes a nice check with ace jack offsuit, but like there's gonna be a lot of hands that are like queens, eights, things like that, and you're just gonna lose. So like overbet the flop or check it back. As played, I would definitely be barreling the turn and just putting more pressure on those like medium pair hands. Easy pitch with our 5-4 offsuit. And the queen 7. I have a bad feeling like this is going to fold around. We're going to open 5 deuce off. Please don't squeeze 5 deuce, yeah. Just make... I'd be folding these hands pretty quickly. Easy open with the ace-9. I'm not super thrilled with 3x. I think we could probably get away with 2.5. I suppose the big blind is slightly bigger, deeper actually. So actually I can get behind 3x. So we do check, but it's just a quick thing. So checking back here is going to be super, like very, we're very happy to do a lot of checking back. You don't need to be balanced with your check backs at all. So like just always check. This hand always wants to, like this hand wants to check a lot, but you can also go for some value here also. Doesn't matter, but I think checking just generally plays better in these pools when you've got decent showdown where you can induce a lot of float betting where they attack because you checked basically and control the pot. Do we bet the king? So this, however, betting the king I think is a mistake in this line. I would just be checking down and trying to get to showdown in this pool. I wouldn't be doing any shenanigans. Villain can just have king 9, king jack, queen 10, loads of flushes, like 2 pairs on the king, 1 pair with the king, loads of stuff. I would just be checking and trying to get to showdown personally. I wouldn't have bet this turn in this pool as played. Again, get yourself a fast fold button. So if you're doing a 2 or 3 hour session, for example, you'd be surprised the amount of time you can save. The more hands you can get in, the massive increase in your hourly that you can get by just fast folding. Easy open with aces. Again, if you're saying, look, like with this 3x, if you're like increasing the open size with a good hand, knowing that these guys cool, I like it. Generally, like most the blinds are at 100 effective, so like 3 is a bit big, but it doesn't make really any difference, does it? I suppose. A nice chunky fallback would be nice. 25, 26. I suppose considering you're slightly deeper with him, like 145 or so, you could make this like slightly bigger also. Like 27, 28 probably would have been a bit better, but again, nitpicky. Again, like with this, I don't mind this protected check. I actually really like this check. Just remember, we don't need to be protected. The only thing that makes aces a nice check, though, guys, very quickly, is because you're blocking a lot of, like, because your villains are tighter, right? It's 17 VPET. This guy's 3 bets are mainly going to be strong pocket pairs. And they're going to, like, to 3 bet and call a 4 bet. They're going to be strong pocket pairs and very strong ace X. Because he didn't jam, he's not going to have, like, aces and kings and queens as much. He's going to have 9s and 10s and jacks. He's also going to have, like, king, queen suited and, like, things like that, right? I would think. So it's like, you're blocking a lot of continues and you're unblocking a lot of his like bluffs and also value. So I actually do like checking here. If I was going to bet any, it doesn't make too much difference. Small, medium size of any kind really just is good. So as played, just very, very quickly, because this goes check, check. I very, very much think this guy doesn't have a pair now. I think he's got like ace queen, maybe king queen of hearts. I would actually double check this just because I really just feel like this guy's capped. If he's got 9s plus, 8s plus, he's gonna bet now, I would think. I would hope. So like and if he wants to bluff, we give him the opportunity. So theoretically you do a lot of checking here. Also some, you know, kind of like small betting with aces. Aces is actually a bad hand compared to like kings and stuff like that, but doesn't make too much difference. This size is way too big. Way too big. Check, let him bluff. Check, let him bet all the worst pocket pairs, which he will on the turn. This bet knocks out king, queen of hearts. We don't want to knock out king, queen of hearts. We want him to bluff. So this massive size is no good. If you're going to bet the turn to jam river, that's fine, but smaller, okay? As played, because he's found the call, now we know he's got a pocket pair. Now we know he's got 9s, 10s, jacks, and just nit rolled it down. So now I like the shove now, and you're trying to just get the call. There's also a chance he's got, like, I suppose some 7x. Maybe he's got, like, pocket 5s, pocket 6s. Maybe you get the call, maybe you don't. We're kind of, like, just hoping he's got 8s, 9s, 10s or something, and we'll just, you know, kind of hero call. If he's got, like, ace-4 of clubs or something, you know, oh, he can't even have ace-4 of clubs. You can't have ace-4 of diamonds. You can't have ace-4 of spades. It's supposed to be ace-4 hearts. One hand, we kind of lose 2, technically. Quad 4s, quad 3s, but I would definitely be jamming this if he's got 7s full. Well done. Okay, nice. So we get the call from 7-6 suit. Good theoretical call. Probably a bad call from him in the facing the pool, but you did check the flop, so maybe he thinks you just got a bluff. Can't fault the call, but it's probably bad in the long run in this pool. But nice, we make it work. Pocket queens is a good hand. Let's put some money in with that one. Getting 3-bet. So we're basically always, I would say we're almost always 4-betting. In this population, against the tighter players, it's not terrible to actually flat this, to kind of like keep in their like ace queens and not just force them to, because people aren't jamming correctly or like playing correctly, so they're just going to have like ace king, aces, kings, queens when the money's going in, always or almost always. So it's like you can also just have super strong flats out of position as well. So as played, we do 4-bet, so we should be range betting. So this, I just want to say one thing. I get it. In these pools where they're tighter, when they 3-bet and call 4-bets, they are likely to be very ace-x heavy, very king-x heavy. You know, they're going to have ace-king, they're going to have ace-queen, they're going to have ace-jack, king-queen suited, pocket, queens, jacks, blah, 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 blah. One thing is, like, they can also just have, like, in these pools as well, they can just 3-bet and call too much with, like, jack-10 suited, 5-6 suited, like, hands that beat you, hands that don't beat you. But, like, I would just prefer to go ahead and range bet this for a very small size. Like, I'm talking 10%, 15%. You can actually get value from worse, by the way. Like, we can target jacks and 10s. We can target, like, 8, 9 of diamonds, jack 10 suited, whatever. It also put, like, these boys, they love to bet because you checked. And I know it's a bad board, but it's like you kind of just betting 10% here, getting some super thin value, and then just going to the turn is kind of better, in my opinion, than checking. Because it kind of looks like you're just like, look, this is a bad board, I'm just going to check fold. I get it, but it's a super good board for you, and if he has any kind of potential hand that could bluff, it's going to just be difficult to play against. So, like, yeah. So, as played against small, I would just be check folding, but I would have preferred to just bet really small on the flop. So, just something to maybe think about for next time. He will have a lot of value, but it's also just for kind of like, you know, 4-bet check folding kind of feels bad. So I know in your population, you're going to be doing more calling overall. Also, Jack-10 suit is not the best hand to be 3-betting against an early position. So if I was going to be playing it, it would basically be as a call. So I can get behind this. Also, we got the button, so the button's always good. So villain should be playing overbet and check, but again, this is NL10, so he's just going to go ahead and bet a small to medium size. This is now a nice easy fold, I guess. We'll continue with some spade versions and diamond. So this is a really, I'm just going to say, I don't mean it to sound really nasty. This is a very, very bad float. So if you're floating, you should be floating with like Jack-10 of diamonds or Jack-10 of spades or something, which you can turn. We're not looking to call to do shenanigans with this. This is blocking bluffs and folds. Like, you want villain to have, like, just for the sake of it, like ace-jack of clubs or like king-10 of clubs and just take a stab and give up sort of thing. You're blocking the folds and unblocking his continues. Yes, you block pocket 10s and pocket jacks, but there's also just tons of combos of other hands that we're just blocking, which is not great. As played, we've picked up a 10. Sorry, I don't mean to keep pausing this, but this is quite an important hand. As played, I would be betting this turn. I'd probably be betting a little bit small, I guess, probably around sort of 30-40%, just because villain's still going to have really, really good hands, but they probably don't trap. So this size here, I'm not sure about this one, because I just feel like he just looks like he's got ace highs and things like that, honestly, exploitatively, and it's like I'd probably go smaller to get value from them. The fact that he check calls a large size, I actually have no idea where he's at. He's probably got like 9s, 8s, 7s, I suppose, or a spade draw of some kind, or 5s full. But I probably would have, I would have absolutely folded the flop And as played, if I'm going to bet the turn, I would definitely bet a little bit smaller. Because don't forget, people can still have good hands as well. So don't just sort of go, haha, you've checked, I'm going to bomb this. And then you kind of put yourself in a spot where you get called by a lot of better hands or raised. So just be a little bit careful with the size. King Jack suited, again, you are a little bit more incentivized to call with the super high rake. You've also got a tiny fish in there with 12 bigs. So calling and keeping him in is also nice, I suppose. You could also just 3-bet squeeze. Like, both are fine. On this board, I wouldn't be leading. Absolutely checking is good. I think against small, the way the population plays, check raising's kind of nice. Check calling's also fine. Doesn't make too much difference, I guess. Probably be doing a lot of bluffing on rivers, seeing what happens. On the queen pair, so I would be bluffing this. I'm trying to bluff out like 9s and 8s and 7s. I can get behind a half pot. I think I'd prefer a little bit bigger than half, but like sort of 75-80% to really push out those 9s and 8s. Because your combo is also not great to bluff because it blocks a lot of folds, but fuck that. I would absolutely be bluffing. I like bluffing multi-way. We do block some 10x, but you will get called there some of the time. Be opening the queen 8 suited in the cutoff. Vivi Gloria is defending. Good board for range. For our hand, we're not super thrilled. Again, multi-way, I'm not super clued, but I'd probably just be checking back. Looking to pot control, looking to get to showdown as soon as possible. Also, our hand, just villains can still have a bunch of hands that can continue, so I'd probably just be folding if any villains make any kind of aggressive action. Obviously, we can have the best hand, but it's probably easier just to get away, I would think, at this point. Flushes come in, we can get bluffed on rivers, we can just get value owned. We have way better to continue than that. King Queen, in your pool with the rake, you're a little bit more incentivized to call, I guess, but you can absolutely do a lot of 3-betting pre also. But there you go. Again, super small size. So this, let me pause quickly. Just very quickly, I know your population has a tendency to absolutely just c-bet way too much with everything. So this guy can have some ace highs and stuff. Like he can just have like ace 4 offsuit and just be betting full frequency, like, you know, anything. But like at the same time, like king queen, like I like having check raises on this board, but not with king queen. I would just be calling. You got a super good price. You're not calling to just hit. King queen is just miles ahead of if he's c-betting like a third. And they see betting very often. If I was going to attack, I'd just attack with like weak medium hands with backdoors or direct equities. I've got like 10-8 of clubs. I've got like, you know, maybe like 5-6 of spades and things like that, right? Like I would just be going like for these, like maybe even like if I had king 8 of spades, things like that, right? Weaker hand with more kind of backdoor equity. This is too good of a hand to turn into a bluff. So I would just be calling, actually, has played. Excuse me. And now I'd be going into, I mean, again, like we're wildly, if we're going to bet this, we're sort of wildly over bluffing with the combos we're choosing. But I'll be honest, for this guy to bet and then call a raise, it's less likely in your pools that they've got ace X. It's more like a decent ace X is more likely they've got like a pocket pair or a 9 or like 8s or something. So I like betting and I like betting big. I actually prefer over betting, but again, like big is fine. But we are wildly over bluffing and not picking. I mean, this combo is going to block ace king, ace queen, I guess, but it's like we're kind of wildly over bluffing. But you know, I like over bluffing, but not with this type of hand. But again, as played, I like the fact that we're continuing the turn. If he calls the turn, I would shut down. By the way, I would absolutely just shut down. He's going to have a really strong ace or like some kind of like good 9+. That's going to be very, very difficult to fold the river. If he even gets to the river with a 9. King 9 suited, again, in your population, I'm less incentivized to attack the UTG and in the rake, so I guess you could do a tiny bit of calling. With some 3-bet, I'd probably just mostly be pitching it though versus UTG. That guy's just blowing smoke in that guy's face. King 4 suited, I'll be opening or folding to the buttons open. I suppose like in a different rake environment, you could have like, I think it's either king 5 or king 6, but I think king 4 suited. I love the fact that we're being aggressive. I would just prefer to have like a wheel ace than this. King 4 is too aggressive. For the sake of argument, getting here. So this is another really important spot. So again, we just shouldn't get here. But the fact that we did, let's be honest. So in the small blind, we can, but don't really 3-bet 5s and 6s. We don't really 3-bet 5-6 suit unless we're very, very deep. For the sake of argument, doesn't matter with all that for NL10 exploit. But just your hand is king 4 suited. You've got backdoor flush draw, backdoor straight draw. You know, you're blocking king 10 of diamonds. You're blocking like king jack, king queen of diamonds, floats. You know, this is a kind of hand like I'd want to be just betting now. This kind of board is going to start constituting a bigger bet or check. I suppose like medium to big, or checking. But your hand doesn't really want to check a whole bunch. In this population, also they're just going to over attack anything because you check. So I would just go ahead and bet like 10, 14, 17, 20. Any kind of this like medium to very large size would be very good on this board, especially with your combo as well. Treat this like ace 4 of diamonds, like something like that. Definitely betting this board. Check raising's also an option, I guess, but I think in your pool, just c-betting just generally tends to be the best option, and I'd be going for a large size. So now it's more difficult. So as played now, we're going into a very large bet or check. Now I'd be kind of preferring overbet. So imagine you checked here with aces, for example, kings, queens, tens, something like that. I like the large size. I'd be going bigger though. So just quickly, because this guy's, let's think about range. This guy's snap open, called a free bet, snap check back, and still continued on the turn. So he's going to have some weak and medium 10x. I suppose he can still have good 10x, but he should really be betting that. He's going to have 9s, 8s, 7s. He's going to have some 6x. I suppose he could have some traps, but he's going to have loads of medium pairs, maybe a 10. Really, like, we want to overbet into shove. That's kind of what we're looking. We're unblocking a lot of faults, which is now on this river, which is quite nice, like flushes and things like that. Our range is very polar here. I really want to see, like, I would like to see overbet turn into jam and then just bin all these fucking hands, like bin these like 8s and 9s and things like that. Bin them. The 6, he can have quads, he can have 6x suited, but it's very small amount of his range. So here I would just be going massive of some kind, anywhere up to shove. I'd say 40 plus. Really pressure an 8 or in, like 8s or 9s, a 7, you know, 7s, ace 5 suited, something like that. So really big, really big would be nice. No, I don't like the half pot. So Dylan had 8, so the half pot's just too small. It's just a little bit too small. I'll be honest with you, if you had aces, like just if you're bluffing, let me say this, right? You're saying to yourself, right, I want to be aggressive pre-flop. Okay, fine. Let's pick a slightly better selection, ace 4 suited, for example. But fine, we got here. The thought process is correct. Hand selection can be changed. But for sake of argument, we get here. We see the 10-6-5. Strategically, it's bigger or check. Fine, whatever. Check is not so great in the population, so just bet big. As played, getting to the turn, we pick up the open ender. Pretend, like, what would you do here with aces, 10s, kings, queens, like 5-6 suited? If you got here, like, you shouldn't really get here, but I'm just trying to give you examples. Anything which is value orientated or like just wants to now start bluffing, i.e. this hand now goes massive on turn and jams river. That's it, because that's what you would do with aces, kings, queens. Then you bin these 8s, these 7s, these 9s, these like weak 10x and people who overfold other things. And if he calls with jacks, he calls with 8, you know, if he calls with a 10, whatever, well done to him. But it's like, this is like, your logic is there, but you just need to go in, like more, like push, go for it. Like really push him into the wall, smash him up, like bigger with these sizes. Ace 4 off on the bottom. We could be opening this one. And easy fold when others open. So pocket fives, again, like your population, like sort of your population, your rake, it's just not super great to open this. I'd be opening like minimum 6s plus, maybe 7s plus. It's just not necessary. Versing 3-bet, almost always just folding personally. I wouldn't be doing any sort of like really big calls in this sort of rake structure. So okay, so just very quickly, so if you're in a different rake structure, you'd open 5s a small amount at the time. If you 3-bet, you'd call some of the time, right? In this rake structure, you should just be folding a lot, and if you do get 3-bet, you can still just get away a lot. It's not like super necessary. You're getting raked loads anyway. It's just not great overall. But for sake of argument, we get here. to continue against a small size, you can I say one thing? If I was going to defend these pocket pairs, I mean, you can also potentially think about doing some check raising sometimes, but like on the ace-x boards, not as great. But for sake of argument, if you're going to continue fives as a call versus small size, have a diamond. The reason you have a diamond is so when the diamond comes on the turn, we can play the check with the diamond in the pocket pair, and then facing a bet, we can check raise, or we can just check and try and get to showdown versus like king queen, for example, or like that's about it really. But you'd play checks, and then you can do check raise, massive check raises with the pair and flush draw blockers. So like things like that. Fives is just going nowhere. It doesn't have any turn it wants to see except a five. Remember, one of those fives is going to improve a flush. So yeah, so I'd just be check folding this combo, continuing some of the time with a diamond. Because now it's just whenever it checks down, we're going to lose a lot. Bets, we're going to lose. Like, we just can't do anything. I wouldn't be surprised if this guy checks back and we just lose almost every single time, unfortunately. And if villain does bet, I wouldn't be check raising either now. And he shoves, yeah, just folding. Bit of a peculiar one. That just feels like the nuts or some kind of weird like give up / go back to jam queen jack of clubs or something like that. But I wouldn't be doing any hero calling in this one. Jack deuce suited, yeah, we'd just be folding that one. Absolutely not defending. Again, in this rake, we need to be very, very careful, even against a small size, but we still need to be very careful with the defense because of the rake. Also, your population is so tight in the early spots, you need to be very careful. Queen deuce off, I'd just be folding. Again, I appreciate that we seem to be, like, the last couple of little vacuum spots we have been attacking the blinds and taking them down, which is good, but we need to be very careful. Like, winning a couple of small big blind, a couple of little big blinds here and there when we get raked a lot anyway is not great when you just get into massively bad, awkward spots post. So again, here, this guy's not even full stacked. We should just be folding threes a lot. And now just folding in this rake. Like, honestly, I just don't like being in these situations where I'm just sort of like less than 100 effective, calling against early position and just trying to flop a set. It's not great in this structure, this rake. If you're very deep and things like that, it's a bit different, but I'd just be getting away from it. You'd be surprised how much you hemorrhage money long term, especially in these rakes and when you're being raked pre also. Easy open, queen jack off. Up and coming star is 3-betting us, so I just pitch the queen jack off. We want to find some 4-betting, we can, but with a different combo, maybe like king jack off, king queen off, ace jack off, ace 10 off, like king 8 suited or something, king 9 suited some of the time, things like that. 9-10 suited, I'd be opening this one. Again, these small to medium connectors are not as great, but like 9-10 suited, jack 10 suited plus, those kind of things, I would just be opening those. Like this open here. Pocket tens. Again, because of your rake structure, you're doing a tremendous amount of calling actually with this one. Versing limp, I'd just be ISOing this. So 4, 5, something like that, yeah. Obviously, we're miles ahead of a limp. So again, versing population, like, I just want to pause this very quickly. So against population, like, it's very difficult to say what they have because they're just uncapped. Like, there's going to be a bunch of people who are like limp calling ace 10, ace jack, ace 7, ace 8 offs and weird stuff. You know, some people who have pocket pairs, some people who limp trap, some people have like sevens and things. You're never going to know what their limping range looks like. It's just completely uncapped and wildly all over the place. So like, I'd just be looking at my hand and how it performs. I don't mind betting tens. I don't mind checking. I think I'd prefer to bet very, very small. And if I was going to bet, I'd kind of prefer to have a club. Again, because when called, it just makes life a little bit easier. And we can also just, you know, we're not committing too much money in the times we get raised. And also, we're trying to incentivize him to call with a lot of worse hands. So like blasting like half pot or bigger is not as great. So just a little bit smaller here. And mainly having a club, but being nitpicky. So we could maybe just bet a little bit smaller there. Or check. King queen off. Very, very good hand to do some free betting with. Absolutely opening if it folds rounds. So because we're very, very deep, let's see what the button does first. I don't know if they're going to open or not, obviously, so let's see what they do.
say if they do open, so they do. So if they do open, so because one thing very quickly, when you're deeper strategically, just as a thing, your 3-bet sizes out of position actually decrease because you are incentivized to be 4-bet by a wider range and for a larger size, but that's theoretically, okay? But also just the thing is, it's like you don't really want to face, the bigger you 3-bet, the bigger you're going to get 4-bet. And you can say, oh, if I've got aces and kings and queens, I don't mind being 4-bet bigger, that's great. But it's just for a lot of other hands that don't want to face that action. So just generally, I would size down, instead of going like 12 or something, I would downsize to like 10, for example. Again, nitpicky if I was going to say it, but so like this size, I like it. And then generally 3-betting to like around 12, like 100, 150 effective. So I like this size a lot. Oh, he's shuffling the chips. He's 4-betting. Your hand's just going to be a fold. You've got better hands to have as 5-bet bluffs. I wouldn't find 5-bet bluffs at all anyway. Not in this mob. So just, yeah, easy pitch. I have no idea how to read into the chip shuffling. I don't know if that means he's always bluffing or if he's always got a massive hand. I got no idea. Easy ISO with this 3, 3.5, something like that. So this is way too big. So like we are ISOing and we've got a good hand, fine, no problem. It's just you need to appreciate that when you go so big, you are isolating, but you could isolate and do the same thing for 3, 3.5, 4, something like that. 6 really pushes you into a situation where like it incentivizes them to 3-bet bigger in the small blind, right? So it's like, you know, we're risking 6 here and into a very, very deep small blind. So like you could just risk less chips the times you do get 3-bet, for example. So, and also you're forcing, again, a lot of really good hands to like play quite well for this size. So yeah. Anyway, so very easy small c-bet, I would say. So again, I'm just going to say it like, this is just a spot where I'd just be c-betting. You've got a backdoor flush draw and you're blocking like ace, queen, ace, jack for the top ends. I would just be and a backdoor straight draw. I'd be just going ahead and making a continuation bet, if I can speak English, in this pool. Like just go ahead and make that c-bet and get to the turn and then play turns. Don't check this back because you've got no option of winning this hand now, and it's just very awkward. Like a hand like pocket 7s and pocket 8s and stuff, you know, especially with no club, like you can put a lot of pressure on them, and also it just stops them, you know. A lot of the villains are just going to fold a lot of pairs under the ace anyway, so I would just be c-betting this a lot. As played, definitely checking back the turn, and then just, I was going to say maybe like queen jack off with a club, I prefer betting river, but like you probably could get away with a very small exploitative bet, like 20% on the river. It's probably better just to check, but I feel like I may have gone for like a 3 big blind bet on the river here to really, really irritate these nines. But you can also get punished for it as well, so checking back is a bit more standard, but that tiny smidge. That smidge there, maybe I've got it in. Easy folds here. Yep, easy fold again with a7. King deuce, we're not going to be doing any kind of defense, just be folding this one. You could argue for some super aggressive 3-bets some of the time, like king 5, king 6, king 7 off and stuff, but king deuce definitely folding. A6 also going to be a fold. Ace 5, A7 plus with some aggression. A6 off, just very poor. Performs very, very badly as a call. A7, again, one of your weakest opens in the cutoff. You don't have to open this one. It's actually a similar principle as the big blind. Ace 5 and A7 off would open some of the time and then fold most of the time. Pocket 5s, again, mostly folding almost always. So just one thing very quickly. Again, notice the fact that this guy's very short. I appreciate you've got another perceived wreck in the big blind because he's got less chips also. But like deeper, we need to be way deeper if we're kind of calling here. Also just... he's not even full stack, so that's why I'd be kind of folding. And now versus this squeeze, I would just be going ahead and folding. I suppose you could argue for the tiniest amount of call, but again, it's mostly just folding. It's just a case of calling like 12 out of position, trying to flop a set, and just like, do you know what I mean? It's like very, very difficult. As play with a delayed bet, excuse me, you could even lead tiny, but like checking's fine. On the turn, I'm just going to say one thing. when people like don't bluff the flop on these monos, but then go back and attack these like turns, I feel like they're less likely just to be betting king queen and ace king on the turn. I could be wrong, but like you're obviously calling like at least the turn, but like if the villain bets any kind of size on the river, I don't know if they're value betting one pair enough on these like four liners with the flushes. So I think you've got an easy river fold as played. Pocket fives again. So again, like this guy is also not even 100 bigs, so I'm not even contemplating calling here. So again, just be very careful with these like thinner calls against these shorter stacks. As check back has played, I'd just be going for a small bet, I guess. You could probably check here, but I'd way prefer betting. Betting half is okay. I think just a little bit smaller. Just incentivize a few more of the weaker calls with like the king highs and stuff. But yeah, it's okay. Betting is really, really good anyway. Gets a lot of protection, get a lot of value out of some worse hands. And also these guys don't really protect their checks, so you're not very unlikely to be behind. Like the open with the ace-4 suited, get the call. Chip Trills is in the tank. So he threw a bet. So in this rake, I would be kind of saying, look, I'm a little bit less incentivized to call. I'd be 4-betting or folding a little bit more. Oh, we're looking at the 4-bet. Haha. I like 4-betting here. I'd still be folding probably mostly, just because also the big blind's probably less likely to be aggressive in this pool. But fuck it, I love the 4-bet. Maybe slightly bigger. I mean, actually no, you're 100 effect. No, actually no. I love the size. I actually love the min. I actually love the under min click. No, it's really good actually. So as played, I mean again, so we should just be going for it now. We flopped a gut shot. Okay, let's think about this for a second. So like. This is kind of similar to like the king 5. Was it the king 5 or king 4 suited we had before in the small blind? So you've got this logic. This is really important, right, for you. You've got the logic of like, I know I can be aggressive with this. I know I can 4-bet this. Excellent. Okay, we love it. We get here. No problem. I appreciate that we don't, like, in terms of like a 3-bet calling range, he can you're going to be thinking, right, this board hits him more, things like that. Neither of you, let's just be honest, neither of you are squeezing and or 4-betting or neither of you are 3-betting or 4-betting 8s, 5s, and 3s. None of you. He's not 3-bet squeezing 8s, 5s, and 3s or 5-3. You're not 4-betting any of that either. So like neither of you actually hit this board in terms of like sets. So the powerhouse comes from who's got the best overpairs. This is strategic. Again, it probably means fuck all, but just for the sake of argument, right? You're the captain. You 4-bet. He 3-bet called. So like you would think he's less likely just to have aces and kings, and you know if he has queens maybe sometimes whatever, he can have jacks, 10s, 9s, whatever. But he's also got a bunch of hands with like just equity that can also just put pressure on you if you're doing a lot of checking. So your hand just really is just not showdown. I mean, I get it, you beat king queen and stuff, but you're never going to get to showdown against king queen, and you shouldn't try and expect to try and get showdown either. Imagine just checking down and losing to like ace 10 of clubs. Like, ew, do you know what I mean? So you flopped a gut shot, you flopped the backdoor flush draw, you don't have perceived showdown value, but you know what you have? A big fucking stick. You're the 4-better, you're the captain, you've got the hat, you've got a direct gut shot, backdoor flush draw. Let's fold out some hands with equity. Let's put some pressure on some hands. Bet the flop, bet the turn, jam. Boom, like very, very small shove. Just bet the flop. At least just bet the flop. That's what we must do. As played on the turn, I would now be absolutely betting turn. So as played, I'm just going to say it. Your population, I would assume, is probably going to bet queens here. I would assume they're going to bet. He may have some jack X, right? But like, it's like he's also just going to have like I'm trying to think of a hand that he gets here with. Like 9s and 10s, I don't even know if your population will even squeeze those. I think they're more likely just to have ace king and like ace queen and some ace jacks and some like king queen suited sometimes and things like that. I would be attacking this turn again, just like let's fold out like a bunch of hands that are better, a bunch of hands that are worse that could also bluff, and also just a hand like if he does have like pocket 10s sometimes. Let's put pressure on it, you know, bet the turn, jam the river, we block ace jack suited. Let's do it, right? Let's take some power. So let's go ahead and bet this turn. Okay. now we're just getting into the spot where now we're just getting to, you're trying to check back and get to showdown. I'm sorry, I really sound like I'm having a go. I apologize, but you're checking down and getting to showdown. You're just going to lose. So like now we need to bluff. But you know what you've also allowed him to do? I don't know if he's going to bet, but if he bets, you can't call. So now if he wants, give him king, queen of clubs, give him like ace 10 of spades or something, and he goes, you 4-bet me, you check back the flop, you check back, so you know what you've got? You've got ace king. That's what he's going to think. And it's like he's sitting there with like ace 10 of clubs. Well, I'm not going to win. Do you see what I'm saying? Like he can also just have jack X and queens and stuff. But let's be honest, right? You can't 4-bet this and just check it down. Like, if you take the action, you must follow through. You cannot go halfway with these lines. You're kind of like going into this big aggressive swinging action and then going, ooh, like I did it pre, I'm going to give up now. No. You need to be very aggressive post and follow it through. So like, if this guy checks, you must bet the river and try and fold him off like better ace size and things like that. But really it's kind of like a jam size because you also just don't want to be called by like sevens or like, it doesn't really get here with a lot of really awkward hands, but like, imagine you just bet like a third or something, he just calls with ace king or like tens. It's just very awkward, isn't it? So really we should be jamming if he checks. If he bets, we can't call. I mean, I suppose there is argument for shoving if he does bet. I contemplate potentially shoving against that size also. You probably don't get much credit, but you do block ace jack suited. And yeah, I think I would shove this still, even versus like a bet from villain on the river. I don't know. I would have just preferred to have at least bet the flop and then played turns and gone from there, or just delayed bet the turn and played rivers from there. But yeah, so you really, really need to think about that when we get post flop. So be very, very careful with these. The king 4 suited of diamonds and the ace 4 suited of diamonds with the 4-bet and the small blind 3-bet. Those two hands need to be very, very. They need to be worked on. Be very careful post flop. It's a bit more post-flop aggression. But you're rewarded with your at least your pre-flop aggression is being rewarded with more hands, which is nice. So we got pocket queens. Get the call. Hijack flatting deep is actually a thing, by the way, which is actually quite funny. I don't think he's doing it for that reason. He's probably just capped as hell. But like, we'll see where we go. 37 Megalodon is 3-betting for a tiny size. Let's 4-bet and put some money in. This guy's got a 37 VPIP. I'd absolutely be 4-betting this. So one thing I'm going to say it, I don't know what your size is going to be, but let's go, like we're very deep against the hijack, and also we're like 150 effective against the button. Don't make this like 20, make this like 28. Really big, like bigger, really big chunky 4-bet, like minimum of like 27, 25, like really like up more, because you're giving him a better price to just continue. And also, like, you're not building this SBR as easily. So just really, really put more money in. But yeah, like, 4-betting is just what we want to be doing most of the time, especially against the smaller squeeze sizes. Let's put that money in. We've got a good hand. Easy open with the 9s. So this board I'd be betting if I had a diamond a little bit more often. Without a diamond, I'd be doing tons of checking. Just be checking this board with these. Against the big blind, they just have a lot of 2 pairs. They have a lot of straights. They have a lot of hands with interaction. Don't need to be c-betting this a lot. 9s without a diamond, just keep checking. Hoping to just get to showdown against like 5, 6 of like clubs or something. 7s, 8s. Yeah, you don't need to find big calls in this population. It's just not necessary. Easy pitch with a 9-3 suited. You can be doing some aggressive action with like some of the 10x, like 10-5 suited, 10-4 suited, Jack 4 suited. You can be quite aggressive with. 9-3 is just, you know, a bit dusty. Lucky Fan is thinking about it. So now we absolutely, yeah. So this is a hand I like opening, 8-6 suited, you know, like a lot more playability. Don't mind, so, sorry, I keep pausing this. It's like, we don't, like, checking is fine. It is fine. But, like, again, just because of the way the population plays, like, they're just kind of like, have I hit the board? Oh, no, I haven't. All right, I'm done. You know, they're not interested in these big floats. They're not interested in these aggressive calls. And they're not, they're not interested in being aggressive towards you. It's just a case of they're playing their hands in a vacuum every single time with like whatever they've got. So like you've got 8 high, you've got a gut shot back to a flush draw. I'd prefer just to bet and fold out like king jack off, you know, like whatever they, you know, just bet and put pressure on a lot of hands. Just, you know, he's got ace 6 off, just fold it, you know, he's gone, whatever. You obviously check raising is fine. I suppose it's some argument for check calling and playing turns, but like just take the aggressive action and bet. In my opinion, it's just easy. Now we are very polarized, so any kind of large sizing is nice. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, excellent. So we followed up with a nice turn size, but again, I would just be betting the flop. Just make it a little bit easier on yourself. Also, villains tend to love folding the flop, but when you check, then they're like, you didn't bet the flop, so you're probably not that strong. And they just go into tunnel vision if they've got something and they don't like folding. Whereas if you bet the flop, they go, oh, you bet, you know, you probably have something. And all the jargon, all the junk. Boring. Fast fold these. Easy folds, nice quick folds. Ace 8 off. On the cutoff, yeah, so I would be opening that on the cutoff. We need to be increasing these under the gun through cutoff open ranges, definitely. That ace 8 is absolutely an open in the cutoff. Vuki is opening. Not happy with him being short, but we're defending ace 8. Versus small size, I think we're always calling. Just calling the tiny size in the turn. We're not thrilled with this, but we're not going anywhere. I think I'd fold this the way the population plays, but like, you know, props to you, you know, we found a hand where we can chop the pot. Maybe he's bluffing, but I'd just be cool. If I had ace 8 off with a heart there, I'd prefer to call there. Even versus a small size. I know calling's probably okay, but against a small size theoretically, but I just don't think they're bluffing for a small size enough of the time. So I think it's just going for some kind of thin value. And often ace 8 is probably the absolute worst hand he'd thin value bet the river with, in my opinion. Or merge with. It's probably not value betting, he's just merging, but bets because he doesn't want to get raised kind of thing. Or bets because he doesn't want to face a big bet sort of thing. Be fast folding the 5 deuce off. We don't need to wait for these. Again, like, don't open them. They're garbage. 9-7 suit on the button. That's absolutely, let's open that one. Getting 3x, bit big. 2.5, probably a bit better. Paired board, Queen X. Villain can have loads of Queen X, a bit small. Checking back is okay, but I'd prefer, again, just to go for the aggressive action. Just keep control of the hand in these spots. Versing large, I was going to say, like, your hand theoretically is a pure call. There's nothing else to say. But, like, when they bet really big, they generally have something more. Like, I'm not saying, again, subjective, but it's like, this. If he had, like, ace 10, does he really, like, he's leading into the king. He's not scared of the king, so he's not got 8s, right? He's either got a pure bluff or he's got something pretty strong, like Queen X or maybe some King X, maybe some straights, who knows? Or something like equity-wise or maybe a pure bluff. But you see how much more difficult the hand is to play. You could just c-bet and play turns for a small size against an under-aggressive, under-floating, under-check-raising population and get loads of folds and just get into turns for cheap. Whereas, like, in these balls, checking back, you've got no showdown value. You don't need to be deceptive. You don't need to have check backs with flush draws. If you're going to check back with a flush draw, have a slightly better showdown-orientated version. 9-7, bet, get folds from, like, King 6 of spades. Or King 6 of spades? King 6 of clubs or something on the flop. Perfect, move on to the turn. Whereas now we have to check, now we check back and now we have to call a pot size bet. It's just like, ugh, annoying. I would be continuing, but at least for the turn, because we can outdraw a lot of these hands. But again, if he wants to bluff, we can't call. If he's got value, again, it's very difficult to play against. You could river a 9 or a 7 and you don't really know where you're at and so on like that. If this guy's bluffing with like ace X of spades, then this guy's just awful. I'll be honest, if he shows you ace of spades, it's probably just likely just to be like ace queen. I'm not even joking. Unless he's just bluffing like ace 7 off with the ace of spades or something, but it's like, it's just an awful hand to have as a river bluff. If it's just like the naked ace of spades, but whatever. Probably doing that just to irritate you, but it's probably just a good hand. It could even just be ace jack, so wouldn't be too worried about that one. How are we doing on the replay? Less than a minute. Okie dokie. I know this video is long. It's about an hour long. Folding, 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 folding. King deuce suited, I'd be folding this one. King 5 up, king 6 up, those kind of areas. $15. I'm going to go with a tell and a read on this replayer that there's no more hands. If we can get a hand in 10 seconds, I'll be impressed. No, that's it, finished. Awesome. So good job, Paul. A couple of areas to focus on. So watch this, enjoy it, look at those, have a few mixes up to the post-flop 3-betting spots, especially out of position. But apart from that, yeah, pretty decent. Thank you very, very much, everybody, for watching. Please like, please comment, please subscribe. Also, the Twitch link and the Discord link is also in the description below. So check those out. I'll see you later. Goodbye.